Good morning. This is Wake Up with Toastmasters, and I am your host today, Phyllis Tribby, while Scott Transu is at the International Convention. Good morning. This is Wake Up with Toastmasters, and I am your host today. What is gone on wrong here? Scott Transu is. There we go. Is that better?
Yep.
All right, then. Technical difficulties. You know, this is only my third time of getting us on at first shot. So obviously there's other things I have to do. So joining me today is my dear friend, Adina Blazek, who is going to talk to us about building a story. Good morning, Adina. How are you doing?
Oh, good morning, Phyllis. I'm doing just great. I just love backstage stories that are shared on bloopers and etc. And so let's start with that, shall we?
All right, whatever you say. I'm here to build a story with you. And hopefully all of our members out there will know how to write their own speeches by building a story.
The first thing we have to do is we have to get the germ of a great idea. And like I said, one of my favorite things is the backstage story or the bloopers. We're going to let our listeners in on what happened this morning. I thought I was prepared. I knew I was prepared.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't prepared. I was not prepared. I get a text. Where are you? I'm waiting for you. I thought it was at 6:45. No, it starts at 6. That was this morning. Then the lighting wasn't what it should have been. If you could have seen me scrambling and Phyllis calmly waiting, you would understand why she's your host and I'm not. Toastmasters, it's not about perfection. It's about building. Now, Phyllis can confirm this. Monday, I gave a speech. It was well received. People learned. But what they didn't know, the backstory was, I left out all the best parts. Friday, I have to give a speech. Phyllis, can you guess what the speech is going to be on Friday?
Would it be the same story?
Well, actually, it's building a story on that speech of everything I left out. So Friday, they get to hear all the good parts that didn't get said.
Oh, okay.
All
In
the
a
funny
new speech or a different speech?
Same speech. Same speech. But the thing of it is, people, you don't always need new speeches. You just need to rework some of those speeches when, oops, I thought that was next week, when actually it's this week you have to give that speech. Don't scramble. Build the story from what you know. Phyllis has great stories. Phyllis, tell them my favorite story. The story of, what is my favorite Phyllis story? The flat tire. That's my favorite story, Phyllis.
That's your favorite story? Well, the story is that I wanted to meet this gentleman at a wedding. I was seeing him at the reception. He was tall, dark, and handsome. And I decided I wanted to meet him, and he was going to follow me out, which he did when I left. But he didn't come to the car and talk to me because my girlfriend was there, I guess. So I had to have a flat tire in order to meet him. Now, I did have a flat tire, but what I like to tell the story is that my girlfriend and I went around the block and decided that that would be the best thing. We would make the tire flat, and we had a big discussion as to how we could get this tire flat. And she had to do the work, because if I did the work to get the tire flat, then I would be dirty and they would know that it didn't just naturally happen. And so I had my flat tire, went back in and contacted one of my friend's sister. And I told her, I said, I know exactly who I want to help change this tire. I said, he's over 6 feet. He's got black curly hair. He's wearing glasses, a ring, 2 rings, an ID bracelet, and a watch. And she said, oh, that's nobody. That's just my cousin Pete. I met Pete, and 3 years later, after he graduated from college, we were married. And when as I say, I like to embellish it. If I'm certainly going for more comedy, I embellish it a lot.
And Phyllis, is that lying or is that being a good storyteller?
Well, no story has to be the truth. It is not the truth story. It's a story, a comedy, something that you want to entertain people. If you were standing up in court and swearing to it, yeah, you'd tell the truth. But if you're just telling a story to entertain, especially to entertain people, then embellish it, make it as great as it can be.
And a word of warning to those of you with significant others. Please don't do it in front of them so they correct you and give you all the facts. We don't care about the facts. We want to be entertained. We all have stories about our lives. We all have stories about things that happened at work. Look around you. Jot down funny things that happen. You can take something that happened at the office, something that happened at the grocery store, something that happened while you were driving, and you can combine all those somethings into a story. That's what we're going to do right now. Phyllis and I are going to do an improv story. Oh, by the way, some of you know John Kendi. I was in his troupe for 5 marvelous years. What fun. I tell you something that is very dear to me, and that is the gift of laughter. I love comedy, and it just is not any fun to pay $80 to go to a comedy show and hear what? Words that I don't even use, expressions that I don't need to be reminded of. I know my body functions. Thank you very much. So what to do about it? Well, start your own comedy troupe. Do I have funny friends? Well, we just heard from Phyllis. That was a great story, wasn't it? Maybe I need to do more research. Maybe I need to find out who my funny friends are. I live in a senior building. I'm going to go knock on the door. Yes, Adina. I want to interview you and see if you're funny. Now, Merle is a woman, not a man. She stands about 4'11", and she's 87. What kind of stories do you think she has to tell? Well, let me tell you what her job was. Her husband put in septic tanks. Phyllis, fill in the blanks at what Merle did for her husband.
Septic tanks. Lord, I don't know. She's bookkeeping. What else could a wife do? She wouldn't go out and put in his septic tanks.
Wrong, Phyllis. She was out in the field. Continue. Yeah. This little 4'11", and what did she do out in the field, Phyllis?
Screamed at the workers.
Well,
made them do their jobs.
Well, that could have been one of the things. She drove a big truck.
Well, of course she did. Absolutely.
She might have had to put extensions on the pedals, but she drove that truck.
Well, let's say we both know Norma Tanner. She's very short, small. I'm sure she could drive a semi with no problem. So yes, okay, I got it. So she drove the truck.
Now you brought up Norma Tanner. That diverts the story to a lady who raised how many children?
6 boys.
Yes, and the stories that lady can tell us about fish.
Can't imagine anybody liking the fish, but she does. And most of our public, I think, knows Norma.
Yes.
She's now, I think, the C1 area director again.
Excellent.
An area director job.
Excellent. Well, one of the great things about getting back into the senior building here is that everybody here had a life before they came here to die. No, come on, people. Whenever I say that, they just go into a panic and I say, do you want to move? No. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, then you're going to stay here and die, right?
Is that not all what we're looking forward to? I mean, what else is there?
That's it, folks. That's it. So we have a Corey.
We do it today or we do it in 60 years, but we're going to do it eventually.
Exactly, just like just like our taxes. Well, Corey Steiner, first floor, I call her the general. She was in administration when she was in the working world, and boy, she likes to administer, if you know, get my drift about that. Fortunately, we're friends, because if we weren't, there might be some Corey Steiner's story. She was in Holland during World War II. Her mother saved Jews. They had a restaurant on the first floor. Over in Europe, a lot of homes are this way. The business is on the first floor. You live on the second and third floors. And for some reason, the lady that was watching her one day took her up on the balcony of the second or third floor and made her watch one of the horrific acts that the Germans were doing to the Jews. This lady had German soldier friends at the end of the street. She was a cute little blonde. She would just go down there and they had a little kitten and she would play with the soldiers. Years later, she said, Mom, why did you do that? She said, honey, they were young men. They had sisters, they had honeys, they had moms, they had women in their life. And you reminded them of that. I think Mama did it so they wouldn't suspect her of helping the Jews. Now, you might think World War II was the hardest experience of Corey's life, but it wasn't. No, when they came to the United States, Mama got a domestic job and Corey went into an orphanage. And the story she can tell you from there. It really is amazing. And of course, her adult life was just as colorful, but you know what? There's just some things that don't need to be shared.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Phyllis lives in a condo complex. Phyllis, do you have any characters in your complex, especially the ones on the board?
I don't think that this goes out to the public, so I'm not going to talk about that, but there are some generals. Were. Let's put it this way. The general is no longer with us. So yes, we have had our generals in our day.
Now we have a label for the people in the building that whine, complain, and never joy. We call them the WCNs. And I was called on the carpet by management. You can't call people names. I said, I'm not. I'm just calling them what they are. They whine, they complain, and they never join in. That's not name calling. I said, if you called me fat, that's not calling me a name. Not if you called me chubbies and a slob and all that. That's name calling. But I'm fat. I don't care if you call me fat. Of course, it doesn't hurt the fact that I'm working really diligently on to be less fat.
Let us not get into that story, because it could go on forever and ever. And this is about Toastmasters, not our life with fat and food.
Now you see how this story is built and built and built. You're learning a little bit about living in a senior building. You're learning how to build a story just by gathering stories here, there, and everywhere, and to have fun with it. Don't stress. My goodness, the worst speech I ever had to do was how many years ago when I first joined Toastmasters, and it was the icebreaker. And I said, I'll never work that hard again. And I haven't. And yes, when I'm giving a factual speech, that's different. But when I'm telling a story, gather, gather, gather. Oh, for those of you who have raised kids, the wonderful stories that you have with that. Once again, we're in an apartment building, but this is down in the LA area. Single divorced mom with 2 boys. And so they had a lot of responsibilities. They knew how to grocery shop. They knew how to clean the house. They knew how to do laundry. If we wanted to get anything done on weekends other than work, they had to help. And they knew that. But one day I come home, there they are, my 2 little guys, they're in grade school. And the youngest is looking at the oldest, and the oldest is kind of has his head down, his hands behind his back. And he said, Mom, is it really bad if we put your bras in the dryer? I said, no. I said, it just makes them wear out faster. Oh, he said, and out from his back, he pulls a AA black bra that looked just like my D black bra. Somebody had left it in the dryer and he thought it shrunk. Another funny story. My son is working. He's at the airport. He's working the ramp. And those guys make good, well, they don't make good money now, but they used to make really good money because they were union and it's back baking work, and they're typical men in a men's environment, if you know what I mean, ladies. So one day this lady walks by and she's in a sweater and she looks pretty nice. And they're making remarks. And my son just casually mentions, well, when you're raised with triple D's, you don't really look at much else. Of course, they all wanted to meet Mom. And I didn't know this story when I took Thanksgiving dinner down to him one year. And I thought, wow, these guys looking at me. Now, I don't know why all of a sudden all of these sweater stories and breast stories are coming forward, but I think it's clean enough, don't you, Phyllis?
You've already said it, so we would hope so.
Well, my dad tells the story. I'll never forget this. He came home one day. I was about 9. He's just laughing his head off. His boss, my dad was a mechanic. His boss was a little short German guy with a heavy accent. And they're standing at the garage door. This is up here in Sparks. And this lady walks by in a nice purple sweater. And his boss goes, whoa, I like purple no matter what color it is.
Yeah, that is mine right on the topic. I got that.
So you see, it does not really matter what the story is. What matters is that it entertains, that it gives a chuckle. When you try it out on an audience, if you're not giving it a chuckle, it's not getting a chuckle, well, then you have to tweak it. My son spent 2 years in Japan teaching English as a second language. And this is my last breast story. We're at the gas station. The mountains are surrounding us. This is down in Vegas. The mountains are or was it? No. It was up here in Nevada and Reno. The mountains are a little bit closer to us up here than they are down there in Vegas. And he's pumping gas and he's looking at the mountains, and I'm standing there next to him yakking with him. And there's a lady, another buxom lady pumping her gas. And he goes, I never knew how much I missed breast until I came back to the States. He's now married to a Japanese woman. And that, folks, is what I consider organic humor. How can we wrap this up to have a message and a action? Phyllis, I'm going to leave that to you.
Oh, thank you so much. You're going to be the storyteller, but I have to be the call to action. Well, I would tell people that after they finish their stories, and they may have many of them included, it's a call of action to people to think about what's in their lives, what happened to their children, to themselves, And where can they take those stories and put them into speeches? We all have our own stories. I have my favorite child story. I have my work story, which I didn't think much of, but I needed a larger speech. And so I elaborated and embellished it to make it more humorous. And that's what you need to take is, even though the story doesn't really seem that funny, you can embellish it to make it entertaining to others. So think about what's happened in your life and make it a story for your next speech. How's that?
It's as easy as that. It really, truly is. And you know, another thing, Phyllis, we've talked about humor and we've had fun with this, but there's serious things in our lives that we want to share too. But when you're sharing those serious things, remember, everybody has serious things in their lives. So it's important, if you want to share those serious things, to remember to put in how you made it okay, how you went forward, how you healed from it, how life became better because of that experience. Now, everybody knows divorce is ugly. When people ask me how long I was married, I say for a blink. And I truly was married for a blink. I cannot even say I was married. Yes, I had a child out of that marriage, but that doesn't take long, as we all know. And you know what I discovered the other day in thinking about this? I never once, when he walked out, I never once said, what am I going to do? I never once called him names. I just said, okay, this is the situation. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to do it? Now, Phyllis, when you're giving a speech on that caliber, what do you think is the best thing for a Toastmaster to do to uplift the audience instead of making everybody go back into their memories of things that didn't work out so well?
I think that when you say, I never said what I was going to do, that is what other people say to you. If you're going through this situation, in my case, the same as yours, I made my decision and I just went with it and went on and talked about it. And then after that, I think we need to add something that is uplifting. They don't want to drill or be stepped on the divorce area, but what you did to make everything turn out good. How you handled your children, how you handled your debts, that what you gained from this situation, and make it more lighthearted. If people are depressed about any of the parts that are in your speech, you want to talk about that, of course, seriously, but then build them back up with things that were the outcome and what you learned from that particular situation in your life. And most people, I think, that go through a divorce learn that they can handle things. You know, they just have to put their mind to it and continue on. And they can raise children that turn out well, and they can have a great job, and things can happen to them in their lives that are uplifting and promising.
Well said, Phyllis, well said. What you said, they can raise children that turn out well. Now, I have another story for you about my children. 8 years in prison. Yes, I had a son incarcerated, 8 years in prison, and I thanked God that it happened. And you're saying to yourself, well, she must not have been a very good mother. What did she do? Well, I'll tell you, I was an excellent mother. You know why? The first phone call from prison was, Mom, do not blame yourself. Do not blame the religion. Do not blame the fact we didn't have a man in the house. I made a choice, and this is the consequence. Now, Phyllis, do you agree that that is great parenting?
It is good to know that your children accept their responsibilities, and that is true. It is up to the parents to help them. and teach them that, there are consequences and they do make their own decisions.
Yes. And when you have an addict in your life or an enabler, because to me, they're the same thing, you have got to get professional help. And we did. Not for him, for me and for his brother. You have got to know how to step outside of all the norms that you had as a person and to grow. I have thanked my children over and over for who they are, who they were, what they are now. Because of them, I'm a completely different person. Some horrible things have happened to us in our childhood. Those horrible things have made us into strong people, into people that say, this is the way I'm going to do life, into people who maybe see a misjustice being done and correct it, into people who stay involved because people got involved with them when they needed them. Is that correct, Phyllis?
I think so. That's probably why I stay in Toastmasters. 25 years and I'm still learning. There are always new things that happen in Toastmasters that I can learn. But the best thing about learning is being able to teach. And when you see someone that you have fostered or mentored and they are a success, it's almost better than doing it yourself. It's like you had a part in someone being a great success. I think that's true. And each person we meet in each job that we do, and you grow with it, and that's who the person is that you become that person from your daily life. Really, you're still growing and changing, and things about yourself that you like, and you could always change things you don't. So it's a lifetime experience. And I think that helping others to learn certain things it's the best. It's absolutely the best. It's yes. My first protege was Guy Dawson. Can you believe that there's anything I could have taught him? He is such a wonderful Toastmaster and giver. But, I did help him along, and all of his successes that he has, I get to claim a little bitty part of, because I was there when he first started Toastmasters. And that's it. It's like you're living through somebody else also. The challenges that you have for yourself and the goals that you meet are great, but you also get to live through some of his goals and his life. So it's mentoring, as far as I'm concerned, is absolutely the best.
And before we close, we want to uplift them from that prison experience. Let me tell you what happened there. He was put in a fire camp, and in California, your wildfires are fought by prisoners. He got paid $1 an hour, 24-hour shifts. The guards that went and sat in the camp and ate the steak dinners got $1,000 a day. He absolutely loved it, had always wanted to do that. And he fought for 5 seasons. And the fire chief said, when you get out on parole, I want you to come to me and work with me. He said, my kids are in Southern California. I can't stay in Northern California. So yes, I was a great parent. And that is how you conclude a wonderful story. Phyllis, that was a great personal plug on your part. She is a fabulous mentor. And I can attest to that because she's mentoring me now as I bumble my way through Toastmasters.
Well, that's not true. Adina did join the same day that I did. She just didn't stay with it. She had other things in her life that she wanted to do. So please join us. I guess I'll be back on Tuesday. We're at the end of our show. Please remember that we have our game night the last Saturday of the month. And I'm thinking Ken will be back on Tuesday, but I haven't heard from him that he will not be here. So He and I will join you on Tuesday with Wake Up with Toastmasters. We're here every weekday at 6 o'clock. Please come back and join us again. I hope to see you. Bye-bye.